Good morning. This is a meeting of the Newbury Library Board of Trustees. It's being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, a year ago. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, in order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's orders suspend requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which can be posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the operations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure participation unless such participation is required by law. And this meeting, as all of our meetings, feature public comment. For this meeting, Library Board of Trustees, it's convening by Zoom, as posted on the agenda and town's website. So that basically is it. All right, Gene. We don't have any minutes to approve from the last meeting since Margaret isn't here. So we can get right into the agenda items.
Okay.
New schedule.
Do you want my director's report first, which I just realized is not on the agenda?
Okay, see, I was following the script, so it's
Sorry about that.
Work in progress, Dick.
I'm well trained. Sure. Why don't we go usually?
Yep, that was my fault. I apologize for that.
That's not a problem.
So yeah, so why don't we let Erin do her statistics first?
Okay.
And is there any point, Jean, where you wanted me to be able to share my screen?
Go for it.
Should I start us off?
I might have to make you co-host, however.
I think you will.
Yeah,
Or
I'll do
I
that.
can send you the link and you can.
No, that's okay. I'll make you co-host. You say yes, and then you should be able to do it.
Okay.
Getting so good at this Zoom thing.
All right, so this is something that I'm hoping to put out if it turns out the May 4th reopening date stays good. So May 4th, I don't know if any of you are Star Wars fans, but it's May the 4th be with you, if you've ever heard of that. Okay, so it's kind of based on that. So let me share my screen, and this is what here. This is what I'm planning to release. See if you can hear the sound once it comes through. All right, so that's about it.
Somewhere John Williams is wondering what you've done to him.
I know it.
Terrific.
Parity is fair use if it's parity. I do have a question though.
Yes.
What's the mask policy going to be once it's reopened?
Oh, masks will
That
still.
are required. So on the way in,
You're
I
not
heard
going to see anybody's smiling face.
yeah, I know.
No, and I suggest you change it because you don't want to give people
Yeah, the impression, right?
Yeah,
you don't have to wear their mask.
Smiling eyes, Erin, smiling eyes.
Right.
yeah, smiling
Yes.
eyes. That's a
Yes.
good, very good
Good.
point.
Good.
It's gonna
Good,
cost
good.
$10
Dick.
if I do that.
Okay.
I'll write you a check if you need it. Sorry, the retired producer in me always looks at the door.
Yep.
No, good, good, good.
Good. Good cat. All right, but otherwise I get the thumbs up.
Oh, it's
Oh,
fantastic.
God, yes.
Yes,
That's
excellent. You
great.
get thumbs up with that. Excellent. Great.
We're going to be so disappointed if we don't open on the 4th.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, well. I'm sure Erin will be creative and come up with something else.
I don't know if it's May 5th. It's really not gonna work.
But then
All right.
Schwartz,
Oh my God, that would be pretty. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You planted a seed.
Yep. That movie was a riot. Okay.
Go
So
ahead.
on to the
Yes.
statistics report. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. So it was March to March. It's a full calendar year of the pandemic
Mhm.
with this report. So could do some comparing numbers. Although when we did first shut down, we had half the month of March was normal and half the month was complete shutdown. So you can see now that we're doing curbside that our circulation is better than it was in March of last year. So for the first time, our numbers are looking a little bit better.
Mhm.
Of course, our visitors are down. So I'm trying to think, and our public Wi-Fi use is down, and we still have lots of things that we're not able to offer yet. But at this point, now that COVID is a little bit better understood, we've been able to drop down on some of the early protocols, such as quarantining books and for as long as we quarantined them for. And now we've been able to drop down to 24 hours. My door just opened again, Jean, sorry.
Sorry, I'll go close it.
So that actually does help our workflows day to day to be able to get that much closer back to a normal workflow. Our newsletter subscribers continues to grow, although youth services remains weirdly consistent, even though youth services membership to the newsletters will rise to and drop to. So it is changing. It just remains kind of at the same level, which I guess makes sense as, you know, parents maybe age out of having the kids who could attend the programs and the new parents come in. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all continue to grow. LinkedIn, all of our ways of reaching out electronically and online are continuing to grow. So that's good. Let me see. Our target reopening date is March 4th, and that's about it. So it's nice to get this kind of data to be able to compare apples to apples in a way. So even next month for April, when we go April of last year, when we were totally shut down, compared to this April, will be interesting too, to see our circ numbers and how many people are getting services. And we didn't have curbside at this point last year, and now we do. And so we had 417 curbside materials go out. So, so that's all good.
Good.
Yep. Any questions?
No.
Okay. On to you, Jean.
Thanks, Erin. So you all received your budget sheet. That was yesterday. I sent out some other sheets this morning, which I don't have in front of me because I couldn't print this morning. Always something. So we're moving along. We're at 77% of the year, which is hard to believe. We're a little bit under in wages and salaries at 70%. That's due to the vacancies that we've had, mostly, well, primarily Jane's. Materials, we're at 73% of municipal funds, so that's a good place for us to be. And 70% at library expenses. I did get clarification from the town accountant yesterday about the whole COVID reimbursement thing. And basically, I guess what they've been doing is if they deem, Erin and I designated a COVID expense, what we think is a COVID expense, and if they deem it COVID, if it meets their criteria, then they don't charge it to the library. They basically charge it to another account. So that's pretty much what's been going on there. So that's really good to know. And state aid, we're way below what we budgeted for salaries. But that's because we spend at the end of the year. We see what's left after we've used up the municipal funds, and then we spend from state aid for whatever's left. Haven't spent anything on materials from state aid yet. Just a little bit from gift and donations. That was, wish I could remember what that expense was. I should have written it in there, but I can't remember right now. It's a couple of things. It's not just one thing. And we haven't spent anything except $182.79 from the Randall Fund for some craft supplies for children's. So that's where that is. Any questions on the budget?
We're in pretty good shape for the balance of this
Yeah.
fiscal year then.
Yeah, we are. So facilities, there is some touch-up painting. You probably noticed it, Dick, to be done on the outside of the building. Not a lot, but just some spots.
That was a good sized piece that's exposed there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little more than touch up.
Yeah.
And I honestly have not walked around the back of the
Right.
building to see
Okay.
what's there. So I haven't had a conversation with James. I imagine we'll hear about that at some point. The DPW is going to replace all the outdoor lights, the big, tall lights in the parking lot at the same time. Because I have noticed a few of them are out, and he decided to just replace them all at the same time. I guess in the hope that they'd all go out at the same time and keep it easier for them. And Dick, you had mentioned the other day the capital improvements, the fact that they
Right.
haven't tackled any of that. So I didn't know if you wanted to say any more about that.
No, it's just that if you recall at last year's annual town meeting, there was monies appropriated for a number of items that had appeared on that engineering and architectural survey that they had done of the building the year before. And to date, none of that has been put in place. So I can probably reach out to James. The status of that is if it's going to happen within this fiscal year. I don't know if there's any limitation on capital funding if it's not spent within the fiscal year that it's appropriated.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that either.
Yeah, it may roll over into the next year. I know at the state level there are stipulations that it has to be spent within a specific period of time, or it has to be appropriated. So I don't know how it is. Guessing that it still will be available to us, to James, for him to do this. I think just reading stuff in the paper about the restrooms on Plum Island and the rationale there that they were going to build those, but they couldn't because they had problems at the range, where I guess some of the trusses or something broke. Crew, I know every time I go by, there's always a truck out there, guys in the building working, and that's been going on for a few months now. So I'm sure that's taken his staffing resources, spread them around to, and figure in the winter while they're doing that, they also got to plow and other stuff too. So
Yeah, like
but
today.
I'll reach out to you. Yeah, like today, yeah.
Better be wrong there, Gene.
Yeah.
Well, it's snowing outside my window. I don't know about yours.
Is it really?
The skylights
Yeah.
are
Oh,
icing
I
up.
can see the snowflakes in there. Oh, yeah, great, I put all the shovels away.
That's why it's snowing.
I
You're not
know.
supposed to do that.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's mixed, yeah, there's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
That's
not
good.
speaking.
So, yeah, I will reach out to James and see what the status is, and I'll forward his response, or let you know, I'll synopsize it, send it off to everybody. So,
Okay.
we haven't heard anything because that was a multi-year plan that they were putting in place. We haven't heard
Right.
anything, if there's going to be anything on this warrant, at least nothing that I've seen, at least this paper or anything.
Yeah.
So, no, it's multi-year.
Yeah.
But not every year. Okay.
Okay, so programming, our attendance is a little bit more respectable. We're not having such a big gap between the number of people that register and the number of people that actually attend, but our crowds are still pretty small. Indoor seat starting had 13 in attendance, and everybody was very pleased with the presentation.
Hmm.
There were some very seasoned gardeners in there.
Mhm.
Yes, there were.
Yeah.
Michelle Beckman's Who Cares About Your Family Heirlooms was so enjoyable. She provided inspiration and ideas to the 12 in attendance for how to deal with all this stuff in their lives. And people really participated and talked about ways they had reduced the amount of stuff and how they had repurposed things and made picture frames out of wedding gowns and all kinds of really interesting ideas. I'd love to have her come back.
She was good.
Yeah,
She
she
was.
was.
Yeah.
She was. And then 7 people attended digital photography with your smartphone. That was last Saturday. It was such a beautiful day. We lost quite a few people. And I think we all learned a few tricks, those of us who attended.
Mhm.
Dyke Hendrickson was Wednesday night, talked about the Merrimack River, drawing from his new book, which I've just ordered, The Merrimack, the Resilient River. Lots of interesting information there. He's an interesting fellow. Morning yoga will move to the library lawn in May. All things, if Mother Nature cooperates. And evening yoga will remain on Zoom. Writers Workshop continues into May, and that's pretty much it for programming for FY21. I think we've got to do some regrouping, and I had it in my head that we'd be able to just go full on in person out on the library lawn, but after talking with quite a few local directors, it seems like most people are not really anticipating doing that, especially with kids. And that was where we were really hoping to have an outdoor story time. I certainly have not ruled it out. I still think with trustee approval, we might give it a shot, but there are some other libraries that feel because kids are the one group that is not vaccinated, nobody wants to see a super spreader kind of a thing. I feel that we can at least attempt to put some protocols in place. Katie can be very firm when she needs to be, put each kid and their caregiver in a hula hoop, and they're told they can't leave the hula hoop, and everybody's spread out on the lawn. And Katie's already said, if a kid gets up and starts walking around or, getting close to others, they're just, the parent has to immediately remove them. That's where we're at, but we are pretty much in limbo, especially because we don't really know exactly when we're opening, and we haven't gotten the guidance from the town yet. So, that's to be continued. We
I think
do.
that one would have to start with the guidance from the town, Gene.
Yeah.
And dealing with the logistics of doing that secondary, but I think the town has to approve that concept. So
Yeah.
let's see what we get from them.
Yeah, regardless, we're going to be doing some brainstorming in the next couple of weeks, the staff is, with how to get our people back, because we really, it's been kind of dead around here. I mean, people are coming for curbside and all of that, but we really want to figure out a way to get our people back. And I don't necessarily mean physically, but just engaged in the library. And maybe book groups can happen out on the lawn. I don't think there'd be much town pushback for adult programming. I had thought about or asking the friends to possibly purchase a couple of Adirondack chairs, probably not the wooden ones, probably the resin ones, but those colorful ones that are out there that could be out on the library lawn, and book group could conceivably happen out there, and maybe a few other types of adult programming. But especially if we don't reopen on the 4th, we're just all feeling like we just need our people back. Yes, Erin.
One thing I forgot to mention is that the escape room, the local history escape outdoor room, is still progressing forward. And KDD and I she's made a ton of progress, pulling together the local history part, and then I kind of come up with the clues to get from one to the other. And that's still on target to happen end of June or early July. And I think that'll be a nice thing to get some buzz.
Absolutely.
I think the town will be happy with it. I think a lot of different local organizations will be really happy with it.
Yeah.
Would be
For
good
sure.
to have that in the paper. And
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Yep. So we're getting there. We make regular progress every week, so it's been good.
They're very popular. I sadly read in the New York Times vows section of a couple which the man proposed in an escape room.
Oh my goodness.
In what section did you say, Dick? I couldn't hear.
Vows, their wedding section.
Oh, the vows.
Did she have to say yes, or she couldn't get out?
It was like the last puzzle. I always evaluate these for how long the marriage will be.
Okay.
And if you have some extra money for like a patio out front, that might.
Yes, Erin will keep lobbying for that.
Good. Good luck with that, Erin.
Thank you.
I did want to mention too that we have recently purchased Creative Bug, which is really kind of a cool website offering of their craft classes, basically. So you can take some like on a weekly basis. Some of them are just a YouTube video that you can download and or just watch on YouTube and learn all kinds of new stuff. Our timing was a little off. It would have been better to start that probably in November, but there were a lot of kinks to work out with their people. So that has just started. We're trying to tie that in with gardening and outdoor kinds of things too. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's pretty neat, and it's not very expensive. It's $500 a year.
And it's run by the teachers are professionals. Like
yeah, they're professional craftspeople and artists. Okay, so programming children's. April's trip with Katie is to Madagascar. I have not gone yet. I keep trying to find a chunk of time when I can go, but I put the link there on the director's report. Take and Make Together continues on Friday afternoons. Katie and her daughter Emily are doing a kids cooking program from home on May 8th. They're making slapjacks. I think they're fruit-filled slapjacks. Are they calling them slapjacks or pancakes?
I
don't know why I called them slapjacks. I haven't called them that in many years. Anyway.
You should tie that together with, we have a couple of children's picture books on pancakes.
Yeah, true. The new Story Walk selection is The Salamander Room by Ann Mazer. And there were a few less pages, so we are seeking contributions from kids of drawings of salamanders for the extra stations. We are still in discussions, as I said, about whether in-person programming will be an option in children's. Staff, I did not mention that everybody is vaccinated except Marcia has one more, fully vaccinated. Marcia has her second shot, I think, to get this weekend. So that's a huge accomplishment. Catherine started working this week in circulation. It's a pretty smooth transition because she knows the ropes, she knows the software, she knows pretty much everything there is to know except the things that are unique to Newbury. She has fit in nicely and we are very happy to have her. It was Marcia's birthday on Tuesday and we basically gave her Catherine as her birthday present.
How do you pronounce her last name?
Zuplat,
So the S is, I didn't know if the S was silent or the Z was silent.
the S is silent.
Okay.
I thought it was the Z was silent.
Well, no, I think they're both, actually, I'll have to ask her, but I say Zoop. So I say the S and the Z.
I had
Zuplat.
asked,
They're good.
I had asked her, and I thought she said Suplat. But we can ask her.
Zuplat,
Oh, okay.
okay.
I'll get back to you on that, Dick. I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure.
I think we just call her Catherine and we'll be all
Yes.
set.
Make it easy.
And
Yeah,
thankfully, she goes by Catherine and not Katie.
yeah.
3 Catherines.
Yes, 3 Catherines.
Is that a prerequisite for working there now?
So the Friends are gearing up for the plant sale on May 22nd, which I'm hoping is going to be at the library. Tammy, just so you all know, came down with COVID and got hit pretty hard, but I guess she's getting better. And we still have no volunteers in the building, which is very difficult as we prepare to clean up and get ready for the public. Any questions on the budget report?
No. I just still haven't got anything in the paper about the story walk. Is it the paper doesn't want to do it or reporter is non-responsive or what?
I guess nothing ever did get in. They kept trying, they were supposed to come one Saturday to take pictures, but they didn't.
Yep.
Um,
The new rollout, when we get the new one out for spring,
yeah,
Yeah,
another.
I mean, just to let people know that it's there. I mean, we're trying to, and anything we can do to focus attention,
Yeah.
the fact that the library is alive and
Right.
viable.
right.
You know?
They did send it, it did get in the newsletter at NES, so that was good.
Okay,
But yeah, we tried multiple times.
unless you got a kid at NES, and I guess that's where most of them are coming. Even though my granddaughter from Merrimack, grandson from Merrimack, have walked
Yeah.
them all, so.
Right, and Georgetown doesn't hear about it that way,
Right,
and Newbury
right.
doesn't hear about it that way, so
No.
yeah, we do.
So if
want-
we can, just reach
Yeah.
out to the press again, see if they're a little story on it, because
Yeah.
is it the only one around for local libraries?
Actually, they're kind of taking off now. I've been getting so many inquiries from other directors wanting to know how we did ours and
Okay,
And
so
there's all different levels of.
yeah, there are
stuff.
different levels.
And some people put it on a stake and, laminate some pages and put it outside that
Right.
way. And they can kind of move that around where they want. Well, that's
Right.
actually how we started when I was in children's and we did the first story walks.
Yep.
Way back when.
Okay.
So other libraries are doing it that way or,
all
yeah,
right, well, let's get a focus on, what we're doing and,
yeah.
it's a great environment.
Yeah, especially as the
Okay.
weather improves.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The event that the Council on Aging is having, where they're having the food wagon, coffee and pastry in the morning, that might be something that we could try too. To
Absolutely.
have an opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
that business is very, they want to go everywhere.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
That would be great.
Good idea.
yeah, absolutely.
you can always use a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't get along without it.
So, all right, so what's
All right.
next? Oh, yeah, you're in charge.
Oh, thank you. Okay, looking at the agenda, the reopening to the public, I guess we've done that overview. We want to be more specific. As far
Just,
as-
I guess,
As far as we know, the May 4th is the last date that we've heard. Have you
yes.
heard anything else from town hall?
I did email Chief Lucy last week, asking him, as you asked me to ask him, if there was a date for the managers meeting,
Yeah.
and I did not hear back.
And I asked
So-
yesterday at town hall too. I asked
Yeah.
them if they had heard anything, and he's like, no, we haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
So, you know, I honestly don't know what to think. I talked to the Georgetown director, and of course, they just lost their Board of Health person because she came to work full-time in Newbury, and she didn't know anything either. So I don't think we're alone.
Yeah, no, I would think that's the case with a lot of these things. It's kind of like a last moment decision.
Yeah. It's
So I think
unfortunate for
based,
the public.
based on the fact that they put the May 4th date in an article, let's keep that as our focal point and plan accordingly, but be prepared to be flexible and adjust.
Yep.
You know, so until we get a hard confirmation that in fact it's getting closer.
Yes. And so part of, I can't remember if I mentioned this at the last meeting or not, but our plan is to have appointments only for computer use.
Mhm.
To basically open the doors and let people in. We would pay close attention to numbers. You know, I still basically feel 15 or 20 people in the building maximum. No sitting, no newspapers.
Mhm.
Children's is still a little tricky because, again, even the libraries that have been open throughout this time, like Rowley, they really have not let people into their children's room much. Some one family at a time. But so I think we are going to have to limit how many families go into children's at a time. And then to mention too, our new schedule, which unfortunately I wasn't able to print out today, but our plan, if trustees approve it, so it would be good, I think, if you could vote on it, is to do this interim plan. This is not a till the end of time plan. This may very well be to the end of the summer plan. Aaron and I have been going back and forth trying to figure out nights and opening at 9 and all kinds of different things. And then I looked around at other libraries and talked to other libraries, and I realized everybody's hours are temporary at the moment. Everybody's just improvising, especially with trying to include curbside services in that. So the plan that we finally came up with, we had plans where we had really stretched the staff in ways in order to be open 9 to 7, 1 or 2 nights a week. And it was too shaky. It was just, you know, one person on vacation and one person sick would have just shut us down. So we came up with this schedule. It's nice and tight because we're basically all here for all the hours we're open. And it will be 9 to 5, 3 days a week. And I really think that opening at 9, which is kind of unique with libraries, most libraries open at 10, and that's part-time. Part of the time is to be able to stay open till later with small staffs like ours. But we've just been feeling through this whole thing that, you know, we have a lot of retirees that like to get here early, and young families, you know, with story times, when we ever do story times, they like to get started early as well. So I think we'll actually be, doesn't sound very nice, but sort of stealing some customers from other libraries that open at 10. And we'll have our one late night, which we'll offer curbside as well. So we would offer curbside on Wednesdays and Fridays, because keep in mind, offering curbside at the same time you're open to the public is pretty intense in terms of staff. So that is the schedule we're looking at. And we would like to open with that schedule. Of course, if we open on the 4th, 3 weeks later, we won't be open on Saturdays anymore until September. But I'm referring to this as an interim schedule.
What-
Erin and I were feeling like we had to, come up with the schedule for all time, and then we realized, no, that we're still in a pandemic
Right.
and we're still improvising. So
What are the hours for the longer day?
11 to 7. So it would be 3 9 to 5 and 1 11 to 7.
So we're looking at Tuesdays, 9 to 5, Wednesdays, 11 to 7, Thursdays, 9 to 5, Friday, 9 to 5. The Saturdays, be 10 to 2.
And we
And
would
we're
not
open.
do curbside on Saturday either, because there's only 3 of us here.
So curbside would be limited to Wednesday and Friday.
Yes,
Okay.
but we'd still be open.
Right. So that's when you would have full staff available
Right,
in order to, to cover both internally and have somebody run out with a bag.
exactly.
Okay. An ever-changing environment. So I think in anything that you do, I would advocate making sure that it's understood that this is interim schedule.
Yeah.
Emphasize that it's, don't want to cast in stone, for eternity here. It's, as things change and things improve or get worse or whatever, we'll adjust it and adapt it to the circumstances of, the environment. So.
Right, and I think one thing I forgot to mention too is it's been my goal and Erin's goal for a while with reworking these schedules, and we've got schedules all over the place that we've been working from, but there's always a hole, and you plug one hole and then another hole opens up when you have such a small staff.
Right.
But was to avoid the 2 9-hour days a week. I never really was comfortable with that. So that's been one of our goals. I've just never been comfortable with staff working 2 9-hour days.
No, understood.
And with this, since we're not offering programming
Right.
Yeah.
yet, the night times didn't make quite so much sense, because that's when we really got people coming in the library for that.
Right. So any programming, including virtual, that I try to do will be on Wednesdays. The book group will still be run from home. Catherine will be taking that over. She'll run that from home, and we'll, change her schedule accordingly. And genealogy, Terry, I want to talk to you a little bit more about. So.
Well, it's going to give you an opportunity. You have a theory, which is you think more people are going to come at 9 o'clock, and having an interim schedule will let you test that theory. And
Exactly.
Right.
Without feeling obliged to maintain it forever.
Right.
Yeah.
The good use of this particular weird time is to actually test stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can test it to some extent, but the other side of it is without offering in-person children's programming, it's not quite going to be as indicative as it might be.
Yeah.
True.
Yes,
Well, that
we
makes
have-
sense.
It's true. We have heard from families for years, young families, that they would love to be able to have a story time, that either started right at 10 or even 9:30.
All right, great.
So, this has been kind of in the back of our mind for a long time.
As Dick said, this is a good opportunity to test some of these theories and, assumptions. And hey, I think this
The
is,
kids have been bouncing off the walls since 6 in the morning or whatever, right?
oh,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. They're like, oh my God, we can't get to the library till 10:30. Ah.
That works for this retiree.
Well,
As
some
you-
of our retirees are knocking on that door at 9 o'clock
Oh, my
because they've
God.
been out bouncing off the wall since 6 in the morning too.
But not happening here. Okay, I guess we should probably vote on these interim schedules as presented. So do we have a motion? Raise your hand if you're making the motion. So I can see. Okay, Dick Raven has made the motion. Do we have a second? Somebody can raise their hand. Terry has seconded the motion. Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Okay, it's unanimous. So, all right, good luck with that one.
Thank you.
Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, we will. You can count on that.
I'm sure. All right. All right, the FY22 budget review.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I finally got the actual numbers that are on the warrant. So I just wanted to make sure we were all aware of the ramifications. So there was a 2.2% increase in the total budget. It did allow for an increase in expenses of roughly 3,000. So that will help us with our materials expenses. If you remember, we have to keep upping that because our budget is larger in order to receive state aid. Erin's FY21 raise is still not paid for with municipal funds. So that will, once again, have to be paid with state aid funds.
Okay.
So that is, I don't know if everybody's got the salaries budget. Did everybody receive that?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think I might have sent that this morning. I can't remember if I sent it this morning or yesterday.
Is that staffing? What's the name of the document?
Staffing. Yes, thank you. So it shows there that the municipal budget is at 218,140, and salaries from state aid is going to be somewhere around 7,200 in order to get us to be able to pay all of our staff in full. So that includes the shortfall, which is Erin's raised, staff meetings, 8 staff meetings, and Erin's 1 extra hour of admin assistance.
All right.
Any questions on that?
And I think we also noted that the information that we received from state was that our state aid this year was going to be a little bit higher than usual, somewhere around what 11,000 change. So which is a little different. Normally we're around 8,000.
Yeah. So I'm still a little unclear if that's CARES Act stuff or what.
Yeah. It was definitely identified as library state aid. So
Right.
I think I think they indicated it wasn't going to be a letter coming. It's just going to show up in the town account. I guess.
Yeah, it usually just goes right to the town account.
Okay. All right. So that'll give us a few extra bucks. Plus, I think looking at your other budget stuff, we haven't used all of the state aid. We still have a fair amount of money in state aid from previous years. So I don't think we're going to be hurt by that. I think, our goal was obviously to start building a support mechanism that they were going to start funding us more town. Unfortunately, COVID came along and is making progress in that direction. So we'll plan was working. So I think once we get back on track here, we'll get to do that and just, continue to show our value to the town.
Yeah, this was a difficult year, obviously, but next year I think we really need to lobby for that extra position and really have talks with the town administrator and the finance committee.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's important. I think we've got to keep beating that drum. Don't forget, when the library opened 20 years ago, it had 12 employees. Okay, so I mean, maybe that was too many for the time, and I think the reality is, in order to provide the level of service that you think the town wants and want to provide, it takes more people, and that takes more money. And the other point, I mean, all of the programming that you've been running essentially is not paid out of the town budget. It's out of grants and out of monies donated and given to us by the friends. So,
Right.
Yeah, they pay for salaries and they pay for materials and they take care of the upkeep, maintenance, that kind of stuff. But the outreach to the public in terms of providing service, it's been paid for by others. So, and that's what we have to make people aware of that.
And many libraries are now getting line items in their municipal budget for programming. So
And I think if the pandemic hasn't shown anything, it's shown how versatile libraries can be in providing programming. My wife has us booked almost every night of the week for something from someplace. I'm going to libraries I never would have thought of going in other places. It's just like unbelievable. And I hope some of the stuff continues afterwards, because I wouldn't go to those places.
yeah,
You know? But I can sit in my kitchen and have a cup of coffee and listen to something on the Four River Shipyard. Okay. So,
well, I'll tell you, Dick, that is a trend. I mean, that's the MVLC libraries right now are putting together an ad hoc committee to discuss collaborating in those ways, so that one program would be supported by and used by
a number
all
of
the
libraries.
libraries together. Yeah.
Okay.
It's something that I know Erin and I both, I think we kind of reacted to a little bit because we really wanted to keep our people and we wanted to keep it. But when you look at, all the people that you're reaching that you might not have reached before,
Absolutely.
all the people that are shut-ins that didn't come to the library, disabled people, there's a lot to be said there. And,
Absolutely.
if four or five of us local libraries collaborate, we can get, some really big name authors here,
Absolutely.
which we couldn't afford to do on our own. So that is a trend. So there's going to continue to be at talks every night, Dick.
Okay, I'm good. She just tells me what I'm tuning into, and that's what we do. So,
And it's possible we'll look into, I was talking yesterday about some combination, virtual and live, as we get more and more.
Yeah.
That we don't lose the people we've connected with
Right.
right.
virtually who don't want to come in for whatever reason, but do want to be connected. So like, say we had a story time outside and we had an iPad where people could connect that way, or our book group, like if people couldn't make it, but they could attend live, and adding components like that to increase our accessibility to people.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's best of all worlds, is having people present in the library and also virtually. I mean, and that's, I guess that's going to take some thought and maybe investment in some technology. Maybe there'll be some grants available for that kind of stuff going forward as this becomes more and more prevalent. So,
Yeah.
Good.
And in terms of the budget and whatnot, two things. I sent out the MAR sheet, so you can see where we are MAR-wise. We chip away at it every year. But we are going to, at some point, we need our TAMI to be higher than the MAR in order to get us on the right track. And of course, we were on the 5-year plan, which was extended out a year because of the pandemic. So I think the wrap-up year is now 2026. I've got to clarify that, but so we have a little bit more time. So, that's where we are MAR-wise. And I want to also mention the strategic plan, which we will be starting to work on as at the end of the summer, start doing the outreach, because in FY22, we're due for the strategic plan. So that will be a great time to have these conversations and get the community involved and reach out to the town and get the town leaders involved. So
Just as a thought of, my thoughts just keep popping in, but Erin's, your report, does that get sent to town hall too?
No,
I think we need to kind of put things in people's faces sometimes to let
Yes.
them know what's going on.
yes,
I mean, send it to the selectmen, send it to the finance committee, so you know what's happening. I mean,
right,
if we keep it to ourselves, nobody else is on Zoom with us today, so nobody knows. Maybe somebody will click onto this in their spare time and want to hear what we're talking about. Unless they do,
right.
it's all kept in-house, and we need to get the message out. And then,
Yeah.
Would we
and
want
and
to?
it may be confusing for them to understand some of this, but okay, then let them ask a question.
Yeah.
Plant some seeds.
It's another thing the pandemic distracted us from.
Yeah, I mean, it's, understood. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking going forward, there's all of the good things you're doing. It's great. We're impressed. We support it, but,
Yeah,
it's got to be the other folks who are going to have control over budgetary things and personnel.
and maybe along with the director's report, that provides a little bit more of a narrative about those statistics. Yeah,
So I think we really need to share that information. It can be self-serving, but it's also, an opportunity for them to know what's going on in the town.
and we're not making them work for the information. It just comes to them.
Yeah,
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
If we can figure out how to do that and, and it doesn't necessarily, Aaron, if you think about it, if the format you think may be difficult for them to understand or whatever, if there's a simplified method of doing this, and I'm not saying it has to happen next week or something like that. Think about it logically. And maybe at our next meeting, if you have some thoughts about how to present this information,
yeah,
share it with us, and we can say, okay, it works.
right. Maybe we look at it for the start of FY22.
Yeah,
It's going to be
yeah.
a new process that we add
Absolutely, absolutely.
for that July requirement.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
All right. So we're starting the new year. We're starting a new time frame with hopefully, more people involved. Okay.
Yeah.
I digress. I'm sorry.
No,
That's a
those
good
are all really good
idea.
points.
I've been in the house too long. And as you know, Gene, once I get out and I start talking, I realize, oh my God. I realize I mentioned that to you last week, and I found myself doing it to 2 or 3 other people at the same time. Oh my God, you've been confined for a while, huh?
Yes, well, that's what being cooped up can do to a person.
Yeah. Dog is sick of listening to me.
Well, if you're talking to your dog, that's a whole other matter.
It's worse if the dog responds.
Yeah, no, she just goes to sleep. Okay.
So the other thing on here is the library policies overview, which
Yeah.
I did not email out, but I will let you know that I finally went through all the old policies, from 2003, 1999, and I have a whole spreadsheet, which I forgot to send to everybody. But I will do that next time. And that actually shows we're in better shape than I thought we were. And we've done quite a few since I've been director. So there's only a couple. Collection development definitely needs an overhaul. And that's one reason I didn't worry that I hadn't sent out the spreadsheet, because collection development, as you all may have observed, is going through all kinds of trials and tribulations in terms of Dr. Seuss and David Pilkey and, all the libraries that are trying to decide whether they should pull something, leave it on the shelf for a learning opportunity and all of that. So it might behoove us to wait a while to see how this all transpires and where library leaders are landing on the whole, and trustees are landing on the issue, because right now people seem to be all over the place. Having said that, we can make our own policy about such things, but it's kind of good to see where other libraries are landing. So we'll wait on that one, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Terry.
I just wanted to add something, because I went to another one of the educational online MBLC programs,
Mm-hmm.
and it happened to coincide with when Dick and I were trying to go out during the pandemic and get signatures. And it was about the board planning matrix of the Board of Trustees. And it was actually interesting to me. And I don't know why we're elected versus appointed. A lot of people who happened to be at this presentation were appointed. And they came up with this sheet that is essentially a way to analyze what is involved in the current configuration of people. But I'm just going to read you a little bit of it because I was surprised by some of it, and how our board works. Like, what part of the community is it representing? The ages of people, whether or not we should have a teen advisory board, the gender identity, including transgender or genderqueer. Things that you don't usually hear people in Newbury saying explicitly sometimes. So race and ethnicity, neighborhood, which is an issue in terms of Newbury. What community connections people have and explicitly talking about that, like political, local government, media, civic groups, qualities of leadership, personal style, and areas of expertise like marketing or real estate. And it was just so broad. I guess with the election, if you're elected, it's an indication that the community wants those people, I guess. But it also talked about having marketing the openings, to advertise that, post info sessions for people who might be interested. It was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll gladly share the paper. I'll give it to Jean. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that in the olden times when I was trustee before, under the earlier administration, I had one election that I lost. It's the only time I've ever been opposed.
Oh,
And generally, I don't think many of us are opposed in our elections.
no.
So, we self-select in, the
Yeah.
people who care about this, but certainly, we're all a bunch of white folks. Here we are,
Yeah.
And in terms of trustees, all but one, if I'm thinking correctly, is retired. So, or semi-retired. So, we don't have a broad age, diversity. So, and so I don't know how we fix that in our tiny town, frankly. I'm clueless to know even if there are, what minority representation exists in the population.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's
So
I think we're somewhat selective of the community.
but it is an interesting problem, and the Dr. Seuss thing is another interesting problem. Which is,
Yeah.
In the 1800s, I forget what year Huckleberry Finn came out, but the Concord Library banned it. And well, it didn't ban it because of the N-word. It banned it because the portrait of a young person was so in contrast with their idea of the sort of little Lord Fauntleroy, well-dressed, polite kid that had violated their sensibility. So and it was blasphemous. So books have been banned by libraries for a long time. I hate to get started on it, but I think that's a really lousy road to walk along.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very confusing for libraries right now. I guess it was Dr. Seuss, and I think Dave Pilkey's. It was the families, that wanted these books removed. So the author's family. So most libraries took that as good enough reason to remove them because it was what the author wanted. But it really does get to the point where if we were going to use that kind of criteria to remove books, we'd have half the books on our shelf, books that were written a long time ago. So it's
tricky because I know when I first heard about both of these books, the Seuss books and the Plinky.
Pilkey.
Thank you. I couldn't understand any of the articles I was reading because they didn't write exactly what was wrong about the books. And I couldn't understand. I'm like, well, why? Why is something in this book racist? And what does it look like that they're talking about? Because there was, and so the only way to find out what was wrong was to go look at the book and say, oh, I see. Ah,
Mhm.
so if we remove the books, I was able to do that because I'm a librarian and we had the books here, but these books aren't available at the moment while we try to figure out what to do. But other people who want to learn about this and who want to learn, okay, why, what was wrong about this? You can't learn it without looking at the book, if that makes any kind of sense. So
Right.
it's a really hard, and like Jean said, the authors want them gone. But at the same time, you can learn a lot from these books and really see what was something that was kind of systemic in culture, especially with the Seuss books, and go, oh, wow, and it's surprising when you look at it. But you got to look at it so you can be surprised and understand. So it's really tricky as a library what to do.
Yeah, it is very tricky.
Wow.
So we
Challenge.
can, yeah, we'll stay on that, and I'm sure articles will come all of your ways too, and
Mhm.
we'll
And
go.
maybe going forward, when we have an opportunity to start meeting in person, we can start having some dialogue about this. Spend a little time, and I think it's one of those things, the more you talk it out, and the more information that you gather over time, there's a little more clarity to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that the MBLC would at some point hold, trustee sessions to,
Yeah.
to grapple with this stuff. So, because it really, collection development policy is from the trustees. That's one of your missions, should you decide to accept it.
Here's a
I didn't
thought,
read that.
guys.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
It's 60 some years old, but Dick, you'll recall the habit of the Catholic Church to extend an imprimatur, nihil obstat,
Mm-hmm.
to publications relative to Catholic thought, Catholic practice and behavior. And when I was at BC back in the early 1960s, the Baptist Library, which still stands, contained a cage within which all of the yes, Dick, you remember.
No, I'm having flashbacks.
Censorship, over to Aaron's point.
Yeah. But yeah, those books were taken and put in a secure area, and you needed to get access.
Key,
Yeah.
And maybe you'd get access to it if you knew it existed.
Yeah.
Banned in Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, for the
But
love of God.
But we've got them locked up in case you want to see them.
On my shelf of Irish literature is a cute little book called The Tailor and Anstey, which delves down into working class Irish during the tail end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century. And it has the unusual distinction of having been banned both by the Brits while they were administering in Ireland, and later by the Irish Free State itself, because it cast aspersions upon the people. Censorship is a tricky item, and I think to a point you've got to trust the judgment of the folks who
right.
patronize your library. Again, just freewheeling here.
Yeah, no, it's good, and that's why I'd love to have this conversation, in person, that we sit and have this discussion going.
No weapons, though, Dick.
Oh, no, no, definitely not. Hey, no, no, definitely not. No, I think that would be an interesting conversation. And hopefully it would help formulate some policy going forward. I mean, I think all of these things, as you said, Aaron, you don't know what the issue is until you actually see the book. You know, and to your point, Alex, in one point in time was offensive to somebody, and at another point in time, that same thing was
Yeah.
offensive to the people that it was supportive of. You know, it's
Yeah.
timing is everything. You know?
It's
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
it's so, but I do remember the imprimatur and the.
Oh, God.
Oh well. So
Another time, Dick.
One of the
Willing.
one of the Jesuits at Loyola in New Orleans, when I was there for junior year, said to me, "Look, you know, women aren't meant to study philosophy."
oh,
Oh yeah.
oh boy,
oh,
yeah.
It was a major change at BC in my graduating class from ANS. There were actually 8 women in the School of Arts and Sciences for the
Yeah.
first time ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nursing, yes. Education, yes.
Education, yes.
ANS, no.
No,
Business,
right.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was in
long
the,
time ago.
yes,
Yeah.
I was in the second class of women at Fordham.
oh, wow.
And it was very poorly planned, but I was told, it turns out.
Guys planned it. Of course it was terrible.
that the Jesuits were not, the hierarchy was not really gun-ho on Jesuits managing a women's college. They kept Thomas More separate from Fordham College
Oh,
until they brought it together. But they didn't have dorms, they didn't have, the preparation really
Day
stopped.
hops.
so we have made some progress.
Yes, the vocations have gone to hell.
No, no,
That's-
absolutely. So maybe they have to sit back and do some reflection on how we're going about doing this.
Well, one of the things that got me thinking about this is because some of the people that I talked to when I was getting signatures are newly married, younger people with kids who used to go to the library when they were a kid, and that's what they remember about it.
Right,
And they don't use it now, but gee, maybe they'll go back now that they have kids.
right.
Versus that whole gap of time, which I don't know what programming we address to them at all, aside from our parents.
No, there was a period of time that I mean, and comments were made to us that we were focused on children, and that was one of the issues. And Gene, you and I had talked about that. And one of the efforts was to increase adult programming, and that is what's been happening methodically over the past 5 years. Little by little, incrementally, we have been increasing the amount of adult programming while not minimizing the amount of children's programming. That still continued, was built on top of that. And that was the positive. We kept talking about, we have to make this institution important to everybody for a different, and it's going to be important for a different reason for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not the big reader in this house, as you well know, but you know, the library is important to me for a number of other reasons. So it's, you know, it has an appeal. I love the programming. I love taking music out, you know, and I will occasionally take a book. You know, everybody grabs their chest when, oh my God, he's taking a book. But you know, it's and I think that's what libraries are now. It's appealing to a broad base of people and make it important in the community. And
To
you know,
Terry's point, though, we are missing that gap. So we have, there's adult programming, but it's really more for the older adults who maybe have raised their kids because they have time. When you're raising
kids.
you're bringing the kids to their program. So then you
Right.
get the 18-year-olds to 30
Mhm.
that we do struggle to tap into, I think, a little bit because our programming is too early
Yep.
in the day. And they probably would like to go someplace and get a drink and like, and they want to, or do something later at night on a Friday night is when they're going to have time. And we're small, so we haven't been able to kind of tap into that where a place like the BPL in the city
Right.
can.
Yeah.
So we do still have that.
You get a
And
drink.
they, yeah.
You get a drink at the BPL?
What?
Yeah, I think you
And
can.
you get a drink at the BPL.
Yeah, you can. They
Yes.
have a map room, which is the bar in the BPL.
Do you have to buy it or do you take it out with your library card?
That's innovative, Dick.
Because there is a way to return it.
The card serves as a drink ticket. I know.
Creativity, I love it.
We did do a coffee program once, and that did seem to get people across the board. So that, not saying that we can't tap into it, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Oh, boy. So I think it is a matter of thinking creatively. How do we do these things? And none of this happens quickly.
Yes.
Right.
This is, you start to, unfortunately, and you keep coming back and we get sidetracked. We had momentum. We were building, and incrementally, a brick at a time. And over time, it's maybe the next iteration of who's in charge and involved that sees the benefits of this, but you start putting the pieces in place now. One of the things I talked about years ago was doing an open mic night.
That's great.
Remember we talked about
I
that, Aaron?
do.
I mean, you want to get young people involved.
That's right.
Come on down and play your guitar for a half hour, or and set the meeting room up for that. And it's you make yourself available. It then becomes important to them on Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then another group comes. I remember I keep coming back to this one. I went one night when Jen was the director to support her. It was something on sea bass. The room was full. The migratory patterns of Atlantic sea bass. Give me a break. There was 45 people in the room. I didn't have to go and listen to that, but I did. Well, I mean, so it appealed to, and they weren't all local folks either. They came from all over for that. So it's finding these things that work for different groups of people. And again, it puts more onus on you and responsibility on you to come up with these creative thoughts. You can just have random thoughts and we throw them at you and say, hey, go with it. Good luck. So, all right, I'm done.
I like random thoughts.
I'll stop now. I'll stop now. The dog is waiting for a conversation.
Oh, boy.
So is there anything else? This is an opportunity. Anybody, it's a crummy day. I can't go work in the yard. So anybody have anything else to?
Well, some of us have to work.
Well, this is work. It's blue sky.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. It's creativity time. It's a thought process. It's sharing information, which
Absolutely.
we haven't had an opportunity to do for a while. So it's oh well. It is interesting.
Yeah.
That patio idea might be great for open mic night type of thing. Just say.
Thanks.
It's only going to take about 20 more times of me hitting you over the head with this one.
And we'll hear it.
You might be hitting the wrong person over the head. We may have to find somebody else to hit.
Oh, goodness. All right. Anything else that needs to be done? You need anything else that comes to mind, Gene?
I don't think so. I will tell you that if we open on the 4th, I will not be here that day.
Okay. Yeah.
But I hopefully should be back the day after. So.
All right. Yeah. For Marcia's position, you indicated you got 4 or 5 people who are applied for it?
Yes, we're not getting anywhere near the response for this position because it's part-time and
Part-time.
low paying, but we've got some people that we should definitely interview.
Okay.
And
And
I don't know if
Masha-
it'll be next week or the week after.
And Masha is there until the end of May?
She's here until the end of May. Thank goodness.
All right. So if there's, and I guess I'll reach out to Margaret and just see what night of the week works for her. I'm assuming
Yeah.
that, obviously daytime is going to be an issue now for her with the kids back in school. So I'll reach out to her and let her know, I'm gonna try to shift it.
Okay.
Then I'll reach out to you and let you know what potential nights would work. Okay.
I think we did a couple like at 5:30 or something, which
Yeah.
would be
No, which is
great
fine.
on our ends, but you know.
No, that's fine.
And
Works for me.
hey, I'm gonna be away for a week to 10 days in New York State. So if we do it by Zoom, I can still do it.
You can still do it.
If we do it in person, I won't be here.
Okay. All right. We'll try to adjust. There's nothing pressing right now, Gene, that we definitively have to have a meeting to cover anything. So.
Do we
I
have a
don't think
hybrid
so.
meeting?
Excuse me, Dave?
Do we have a hybrid meeting where those who can't make it can attend by Zoom and those who can make it attend in person?
If we can, again, we're waiting on the town's authorization for us to be allowed to meet in person. And again, I think it's still at the state level, they're still discouraging that.
Yeah, okay.
So we're still waiting for some guidance from the town. So, all right, I'll work on, I'll reach out to Margaret and see what days are better for her and, and I'll throw it out to everybody and see what works for everybody. We'll come up with a date.
Okay.
Sounds good.
If Wednesday nights do work, I did like assuming we are able to meet in person someday.
Mm-hmm.
When we had some meetings before while the library was still open, I thought it was good visibility for the library and the trustees to have their meeting, like when we were sitting over there and people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we look, we look forward to getting back to doing that.
Yeah.
That really is the goal long term. So in the interim, we'll continue doing this. And all right. So we'll want to wrap it up. Motion to adjourn. Motion made and seconded, I think. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will adjourn and everybody have a good day and hopefully we've needed the rain, so this is beneficial. So, yeah.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay.
You too.
Well, thanks a
Enjoy.
lot.
Take care.
Take care.